when two shots were edited together, he's like amazed to think that like why that even worked, because that was like a groundbreaking thing, because everyone's only experienced things through their own eyes, and he's like, why does that work? And because you've got something called a circadian eye rhythm. You're not actually seeing life continuously. Every single time you move your eyes from one side to the next, you're actually making a cut.
No way.
And your brain is filling in the in-between
No
of
way.
the two. So when two shots were put together, people were just like, this works. Because it's just like the way your brain
does things.
Hi, welcome to Department Spotlight, the show where we talk to our friends and colleagues about film and the film industry through the various lenses of the different departments, hence Department Spotlight.
In case you were confused.
Today's podcast and YouTube video is about editing. The
today's
craft
topic
of editing. Today's topic is editing. Hello, Jaco. You're an editor.
Today we don't have... Okay, hold on. Do that again. Just hello, Jaco. It's fine.
Hey, man.
Hey, Mark.
You're an editor.
I am. Hey, Mark. Are you an editor?
I'm also an editor.
Wow.
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 Everyone who makes films needs to be an editor.
It's
or
true.
at least know about editing.
This is true. I mean, and speaking about that, since we were like the two main editors on this project, we had one other editor, Stephanie.
Shout out.
But shout out.
You killed it.
She did, right? But she's in Cape Town, so she's not here. So it's just us. Sorry. No friend or colleague today.
But we're friends and colleagues. Anyway, start off with the first question. Jaco, what in your opinion makes a good edit?
Good edit. Well, I mean, I feel like it's a cliche kind of thing to just be like, if you don't notice the edit, it's a good edit. But I mean, it's kind of the truth, you know. But I think it also depends on the genre. Like, sometimes you want people to know about the edits, you know. So, in my opinion, good edits have 3 categories, right? Which is this has not been... I didn't learn this anywhere. I don't know, like, it's just me.
Okay.
So take it with a pinch of salt. You got the invisible edit, which is what you mostly get in your films and narrative work. Then you have the sort of the commercial / music video edit, where you like cut to a beat. You know what I mean? And then there's the intentional attention-seeking edit. Does that make sense? And that's what I was talking about with the genre idea.
So like become self-aware, like through editing, like you notice that you're watching a thing, and that's like the point of the
narrative.
The narrative, yeah.
Yeah, that's my opinion. What do you think?
No, that's cool. Dropping some theory.
It's literally a theory.
Classification. That's really cool. Literally. Well, looking at like Walter Murch's, he's got those 6 things.
Yeah.
And he always talks about emotion being like the most. I mean, yours were like classifications of editing, which is really cool. But Walter Murch speaks about what makes like a good edit, and he speaks about, he's got like percentages for different categories of things, and he always lists like emotion as the most important thing. And you can forgive continuity, you can forgive the 180, you can forgive basically every sort of rule or guideline of filmmaking, as long as like the emotion is there. And you'll be amazed at how many amazing films and TV series that you love that just have like bad continuity, and if you speak to them, they'll be like, but we didn't care because the emotion is there. And then it's like, you didn't even notice, did you? Because you don't notice when you're like emotionally invested in something.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it becomes invisible, is when you become emotionally invested, and then it starts disappearing. You know what I mean?
I think this is a good time to point out that Mark actually finished his degree in editing.
Oh yeah.
Whereas I only did first and second year editing, and then the rest of my editing is just personal experience.
But you've got a lot of
yeah, but I mean, I don't know any. Well, not I wouldn't say I don't know any of the theory, but I'm not like Walter Murch has these things.
Oh,
like
yeah,
I know, like in the back of my mind, he has those things. Yeah. I'm just
I mean, you learn these things; they never really go away. You're just like.
Yeah, I mean, editing is a very subconscious.
Yeah, absolutely.
Process, I think.
But it's not like it can't be learned. That's what, That's what our editing lecture always taught us, was that you learn it by like watching a lot of films and by like doing it. But then there's this thing where people always say like, oh, it's like instinctual. You just edit from your gut. But then it's like, no, you can learn it, and then it becomes your instinct. It's not like some people are just born with it. It's just like if you watch a ton of films and you edit a lot.
Some people are born with it.
Yeah,
it's like some people are born to like verbally tell stories, and others aren't.
Yeah, true.
And then the people who aren't can learn to tell stories. Verbally.
But you can't. But you can learn to edit.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
And then, like you say, it becomes instinct after you've learned. It doesn't matter when you learned it.
Yeah.
Even if you're learning it by just trying it out, you're still learning it, and if you do that for long enough, it becomes just like a feeling thing.
Yeah, and the feeling is different as well between two people. Like different people have like different sensibilities, and they'll be like, oh, here's where I have to cut, here's where it just feels natural to cut, versus another person will have another way of doing it, and it's like they're not necessarily wrong in your instinct, but like I think what also makes a good edit is that you're looking at like the story that's being told as well. So it's like a combination of your sensibility and like what needs to be done.
Exactly. So like, and then eventually you know when to not follow your gut. Like that, I think that's where the third category that I was speaking about comes in. Like when filmmakers want to show you something that's maybe not pleasant to look at, or it is pleasant, it's like funny, and you're like, okay, they're probably gonna cut now because that's what everybody does, because that's what it feels like doing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, I'm just gonna linger a bit.
Yeah, you just don't cut.
Yeah. So then it can be learned, and then it's that thing where every rule was made to be broken, but you have to know the rule before you break it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because also some things can't be expressed in one way. Like a lot of great films, they almost have this like way of editing where it's like they teach you how to watch it as you're watching it, with like the pacing being like very like different to what is a normal like tradition, and then they aren't just doing that just cause. It's because they're doing that because the theme that they're exploring can only be expressed if they like go at a different pace, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Teach you how to watch it differently.
Yeah.
To get to those ideas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I suppose that goes nicely into what do people mean when they refer to pacing? You hear everyone saying that film had a fast pace, that film had a slow pace. Jaco.
What is a pace? One pace.
What is pace?
Merriam-Webster's dictionary. I mean, for me, pacing, like, it's obvious. It's just like, when you're like running, the pace at which you run is the speed. I don't know. For me, pace always goes with running. Like, not driving in a car, or it's always running. I don't know why. So when I think about pace, I always picture a guy running. I don't know. And then the background of which is running past is like the movie. Does that make sense? Like what do you call those? The stands where all the people sit.
Grandstands.
The grandstands, yeah. That's the film. And then the guy is like the playhead of the timeline. I don't know. That's just how I like picture it.
Okay.
And then I mean, I don't know how the visual works with like when you cut or whatever, but you know, the guy runs faster or slower. It's like a marathon. You know, you don't go 100% the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking from zero experience as a marathon runner, but you like decide, okay, this stint is going to be fast paced so I can get ahead of people, but then I'm not going to use all of my energy because I know at the end I'm going to want to you know, get to the finish line before everyone else. So it's like so the pacing for me is a marathon where you can't just go fast paced the whole time.
Yeah.
And you can't just go slow paced the whole time. Like, you can go slow and you can go fast, but there has to be places where you just break that pace to make a point.
Yeah, because an audience isn't going to take away anything if it's just like breakneck speed from beginning to end.
Yeah, or the opposite if it's just slow total speed.
Yeah.
You know?
Because there's that natural ebb and flow that like stories have, even in the writing.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think things can be expressed. Things need to be expressed at different paces as well. So you're saying like a different sequence has like a different pace.
Yeah. Like, so when I'm editing, I'm intentionally thinking, okay, this scene is gonna have a fast pace because the next scene or the few scenes next is gonna be slower. So I'm like building to that. Then giving people breathing space. But yeah, I don't know. It's not. These are not like rules that like I said earlier. It's not a rule that I live by. What's the word? Like rigorously or whatever.
You just feel like it's the way it needs to be for the story.
For the story.
For that story.
Yeah, and with the amount of coverage.
I've also found that a certain shot, like each shot, has its own pace. Like with the movement in the shot, or just like even if it's like a slow shot or something, there might be something to it, like in the background, wind through like trees, that like it creates its own like internal pace within the shot. And when you're trying to create like a fast pace, you might think that, oh, you can just put all these shots together and it'll have a fast pace, when it's just like not the case at all. It like entirely depends on the actual shots.
Yeah.
Which leads into the next question. These segues on
You're going way too quick, but okay.
We'll be able to carry on. Which
all
is,
right.
When do you plan editing? Does it start before, or do you just shoot a bunch of stuff and leave it to the end?
I mean, speaking as like the director as well, I also have like an idea what the edit's gonna look like before, like while we're writing it, you know. And then if I have an editor, like Stephanie, shout out, I speak to her about it, or him, whatever. Speak to them about it, or what I thought about after we shot, and then. But when I'm shooting to my picture in my head. Because, like you said, the shots have their own pacing, right? So the only time I feel like when you can get over a shot's pacing is when you're doing that second category, which is the commercial / music video, because then you have that music or that usually music to use as a distraction. You can just cut straight on the beats, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what they're going to.
Yeah. It informs the tone of the shot.
Yeah.
Like
as it plays out.
The shot pace.
Yeah. So I think for me it starts script already, and then when I'm like making the shot list with but I'm not sure what it's like for an edit. I've never been. No, that's not true. I've been the editor on 5 student films. I cannot tell you what they were or what I did. It was too long ago. So yeah, I can't really tell you what my process was. You've recently, or more recently than I have, edited a film that you didn't direct. So maybe you can speak more about that.
Yeah, so editing the graduation film, well, I did two, obviously, the experimental and then the graduation at after last year. And, I was like heavily involved with every single part of the process. Director probably got a bit annoyed, but like, I think it's very important because you have to, even the things that you want to like play out and just feel it out and you want it to have a sort of more organic type of feel, you have to plan that to be shot that way, to be edited that way. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, you're going to set up a shot here and do a whip pan to that and that's going to whip back. Obviously, that's where it's like, obviously that needs to be planned. Yeah. But like every single like construct or like scene, the way it's played out, the way it's shot needs to be planned. Like we had a lot of sequences where, because the film dealt a lot with PTSD, and it was like very like psychological. We looked at the way to manipulate editing to tell her story from her like point of view, the main character's point of view. Because of the way someone experiences trauma and the way they experience their own in like internal time dictated the way it was like shot and edited, because that's the way the story needed to be told. So it's not just this thing you do at the end when you combine all the shots together. It was like literally doing research into the psychology of a person who's been through what this character had been through and how it dictated the editing. So I think it needs to be extremely involved. With these shorts, I think we both knew exactly, because we like have edited so many things, like we knew like when to call cut, when to leave it going a bit. We knew like, oh, I needed to get this little shot, I needed to get that little bit, because like we've edited quite a bit, which I think is very, very important for like every single crew member to know, to understand editing, because then they'll understand, oh no, that little thing over there is not in shot or whatever, and we haven't really seen it, it's not important, or no, this is extremely important, or we have to get this little like pick up here, or we have to leave the shot going. And I think even an actor needs to know about editing. Obviously they're not like consciously thinking of it when they're performing, but just to be aware of like why a director might not be wanting to not call cut straight there and then them having to like play a bit, because they want, that there's something like interesting here that's happening that you might use in the edit that might not have been written, but the way the directors planned it out and constructed it, the scenes to be shot so that those spontaneous things can happen, that can be used in the edit. So things need to be planned.
But also I'm thinking now back to Just In Case, which is the film that Stephanie edited. When we shot the film, Stephanie wasn't on board yet, right? It was just going to be me editing. So I had that idea of what I was going to do when I edited it. And then when I saw Stephanie to give her the footage, it was like this by chance thing. She was in Johannesburg for like 2 days or whatever. She's like a close friend as well. So we weren't just talking about this movie. It wasn't just like a meeting. So I didn't tell her too much about what I had thought. I sent her the script and I just gave her the footage. And then I said, okay, in this part, we're doing stop motion. Some of the more technical things. But I didn't explain what I thought, really. It was just literally just the technical thing, because we didn't have a lot of time. And then the edit that I got back was like, okay, there was a few things that I wanted to tweak, but it was mostly what I had in mind anyway, So I think
that's good direction as well, though.
you know.
But it is though. Like Stephanie's edit was very good, but essentially you gave someone a bunch of footage and you got it edited back the way you wanted it.
Yeah, but also
Aside for like a few
what I
little
wanted
things
to
here
say,
and there, but like
true. But what I wanted to say is like a good editor, like once you have learned how to edit, and once you know, once you have that background, like you have, like she also finished her degree in editing. So when you have that knowledge, you can look at the footage and see or you look at the footage, look at the script, and then see what the director wanted, you know? So, I mean, I appreciate the compliment, but also it's, it's a good editing thing, good editor thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
To also see footage or like even watch a shot as it's being shot and you like are already editing it like 5 different ways in your mind. And sometimes you don't have to do that. Like I know with Ala Chrappi's Opostoki.
Nailed it.
Thanks, man. When there was all that chaos that happened and then we had to move inside and we had to completely redo the shot list because everything was different. We just shot these like long like performance takes. And I didn't have an idea of like how I wanted to edit it then and there while we were doing the takes, because I was like more focused on performance, and also because Wenzel and Tanya are so good.
Yeah.
That it's like
you're just
put it, you just sometimes when you make a movie and you just cast really good people, you just put a camera there and you just say go, and then like magic happens, and then you just cut, and then good. Which is really great. Sometimes but then also that was also like constructed, you know what I mean? Like I knew that I could do that with them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's more, I don't want to cut you off, but that's like more a directing thing.
Yeah, true. But I mean, as in
an editor,
the way things need to be.
Yeah. But I mean, also, you say you didn't.
Set
yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, even though you didn't necessarily shortlist that part for the kitchen, you knew that if I get a couple of wides and get a couple of close-ups and they are in this sort of orientation,
and the different sizes as well, the scene as it progresses,
exactly. So you knew that, because you were just adjusting your original plan. It wasn't like a new plan completely,
yeah. Well, I mean, they were meant to be sitting on that doghouse the whole
but I mean the shots, I mean, the like you just said, the like getting closer to them, whatever, that didn't change. From a directing point, you knew, because you had the edit in mind, you knew that we can get these things, and I trust Tanya and Wenzel, and they know what they're doing, and I can just get like a couple of takes in these shots, and then it'll edit together.
Yeah, but I suppose that also leads into style, like with like you were speaking about the way Justine was like written and was shot, and the way like Al Khrapi's was like written and shot, like 2 completely different styles. And I knew that I could do Al Khrapi's that way because the intention for the editing wasn't for it to be pronounced at all. But like for Justine, obviously there's like those Edgar Wright influences and stuff with like the whips, the zips, the zoom that need to be done that specific way for that story. So style also becomes a very important thing in the planning for the final edit. Like you can't force an Edgar Wright. You can't like force an Edgar Wright style on just like any footage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he knows, like Baby Driver was like being edited as they were shooting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In real time.
Yeah. Maybe let's go on to what is continuity, Jaco?
Merriam-Webster's dictionary. I like how you just keep asking me all the questions. Okay, continuity is just in case you didn't know. Like, I don't know what the odds are of you watching a filmmaking thing or listening to it and not knowing what continuity is, but that's basically when, let's say there's a vase with a flower on a table. in the one shot, it's in the center of the table, but then when they cut to the side angle, the vase is suddenly on the corner of the table. You know, how did it get there between a cut? You know, so continuity is things staying in the same space relative to the environment when you switch between angles. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
What is continuity, Mark?
So I've been thinking about this definition for like a long time.
Oh, did I mess it up for you?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
So if you have a shot, if you can like define a shot as a recorded space over time, that like length of time of that space in that frame, to have like a continuity edit, which is the illusion of movement occurring from one shot to the next, the difference in time and space needs to be small for there to be an illusion of continuous movement from one shot to the next. You can like do an equation. It's so cool. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that is cool.
so if you have a person running from left to right in one shot, it's that amount of that space over that amount of time, and then the next shot is them running from left to right, because you know screen direction is also a thing in editing. But then if the difference between those two spaces and the difference between the time is small enough, it'll look like it's like continuous movement.
I get you.
If you just look at that as like the definition of like every cut, because everyone just like assumes, oh, continuity editing, that's like just what you do. That's just that, like how something is constructed.
Isn't it?
But if you look at it from like time, like, so all the editing books saying like temporal and spatial. So if you intentionally don't want something to be continuous, and I don't think that continuity editing should be like the flat basis for like every sort of edit. Like even when you're making a continuity edit, you are doing it consciously because you do not want a difference between time and space, because you do want it to be continuous.
Yeah.
So I think thinking about it that way makes you think about every single cut that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm even considering jump cuts now. Like,
right?
Yeah.
Like I don't want the audience to be lost here. So I want to have a small difference between space and time between these two shots. And then what happens when you increase it? What happens when you,
like Justine with the jump cuts when she's taking out the DVDs.
Exactly. And that like creates anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, because of
it's like not what happened.
Yeah, it's not the way like we like experience time.
Yeah.
But also a really interesting thing is that I think it was Walter Murch was talking about
Walter Murch is like, he's not the only editor, but he's like the guy who you like reference.
Yeah.
Always. Doesn't matter who you are, how many Oscars you've won. Walter Murch
is there.
Yeah.
Got your back and your essays. He had this amazing thing, so I'm just gonna like go on a little bit of a rant here, if that's fine. He had this thing that I always found interesting about, in his book, In the Blink of an Eye, which you should totally buy and read. It's amazing. He speaks about like film being created like more than only like 100 or so years ago. When two shots were edited together, he's like amazed to think that like why that even worked, because humans have only experienced like their lives up to that point of when two shots were filmed and cut together. That was like a groundbreaking thing, because everyone's only experienced things through their own eyes, and he's like, why does that work? And because you've got something called a circadian eye rhythm, which is you're not actually seeing life continuously. Every single time you move your eyes from one side to the next, you're actually making a cut.
No way.
And your brain is filling in the in-between of
way.
the two. So when two shots were put together, people were just like, this works, because it's just like
It's
the way
crazy.
your brain
Does things. Whoa.
So I think what makes a really amazing edit is like how much information can be inferred between like two shots. You know what I mean? Like just that classic art.
The Kuleshov thing.
Yeah, and that also just that thing of like of juxtaposition of like
Yeah.
you put one image here and you put another image there next to one another, and then your brain just like fills in all the meaning in between.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think we should explain the Kuleshov thing, which is a Russian editor who had like the one shot of a guy just deadpan looking at anything. It was just deadpan guy just shot a shot, but then they put some cereal or they put the guy and then the cereal.
Yeah.
Right? And then I asked people, okay, what do you think he was thinking about? And they were like, oh, he's probably hungry, he wants to eat the cereal. Then they put the exact same shot of the guy with a baby, and they were like, what do you think? And they were like, oh, he's probably like cute baby, blah blah blah. He's caring. And then they did the same with like a beautiful girl, and then the guy, and then a beautiful girl, and they were like, this guy's a pervert, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's the same shot
like, and he's
every
not
time.
thinking of anything.
Yeah.
And it's like the audience is just doing that themselves, and it's like, so I don't know, I don't think that like these like tools are like
it's like I mean
child's play. Like it's like you're literally making someone
feel
think something by putting two images next to each other. That's like the potential for some dangerous stuff, which is like why propaganda is a thing. And why the Russians were like big into it in the creation of editing is because like there's some proper interesting history of like propaganda and editing. Like that woman who made that I can't remember the name of it though. That like Nazi propaganda film, and then the Americans took that same film and like recut it and then like made it all funny and
really I didn't even know about that.
Which is it's really cool how they just like completely changed the meaning
just by recutting it. That's crazy. It's also like I mean I can just imagine. I mean, what's his name? The French guy, father of visual effects.
Georges Méliès.
Yeah, Georges Méliès. Georges Méliès. He's credited as being like the father of visual effects, and the story goes that it was literally an accident where he was filming a guy or a horse carriage in the streets of Paris, just going, and then while he was filming because you had to like do it manually, and then the crank like got stuck, right, and he was like it couldn't move, and then when he got it working again, it just kept filming and it created one of the world's like first visual effects cuts. I don't know if it was the first cut ever, obviously, but visual effects cuts where it was just like, and then when he played it back, right, he was like amazed that 1 minute the horse carriage is there, literally the next frame it's gone, and it's like, where did it go? You know what I mean? And that was like, visual effects kind of thing. But also I think that's where people started experimenting a lot more with editing two different or the same thing, but with like that continuity thing, because that's literally a break in continuity. It's the same exact shot. It's like a jump cut. It's the first jump cut. And from that, this whole it's so crazy that film is only like 100 years old. Eh?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's like really young.
Yeah.
And if you want to read up more about, you can read up more about Georges Méliès, but also if you watch the film Hugo. By Scorsese. Ben Kingsley's character in that film is Georges Méliès, and then he redoes a lot of his earlier work, like was it Trip to the Moon?
Oh yeah,
That's
such a good movie. Did we just spoil it though? It's not a spoiler because you don't know that that's the case until the end of the movie. But also you need to know about film for it to actually have significance. So potentially spoiler. Sorry guys. Potentially sorry.
I mean, watch it.
Why haven't you watched it yet? What's wrong with you? It's a Scorsese. Watch all of Scorsese. even though you can be mad at him and watch his stuff. It's fine.
What? Shall I go on to another question?
Sure.
Let's cover this question now, because I suppose people always want to know. That's why we're going to ask it. Yeah. What software do we use to make these films?
Hashtag Adobe Creative Cloud, Premiere Pro all
Shout
the way. Shout out Adobe. They obviously need all the press they can get.
Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro.
The most recent version 14, is insane.
I don't know what they did from 2019 to 2020, but playback is just so butter.
Buttery smooth.
Butter,
it's
dude.
So good.
It's crazy. So why don't we use any other programs, Mark?
Premiere for the win.
I mean, you obviously, when you were in third year, do they still do Avid?
Yeah, we used
so
Avid.
Yeah, so when you were in third year, you guys used Avid. At
Avid Media Composer.
When I was in third year, I was doing sound design and visual effects, and like just from watching the editors use Avid, I got so mad.
Okay. Well,
I got so mad.
I loved Avid because
Did you?
They just didn't know how to use it properly.
No. I probably didn't know how to use it properly because there would inevitably be something that I have to fix myself in the sound because some editor didn't know how to, exporting an OMF for Pro Tools or exporting an XML or I don't think he did XML, but something for the visual effects side. I think we had to do AOFs. But every time I would just get so frustrated because from my experience, and like I said, I didn't study it or use it for very long, but you had to set your own shortcuts for things, or because it didn't have default shortcuts in the version that I was using, and it was just difficult to navigate, and I hated the fact that all the windows are just floating around. It's not just one window with panels. So that's my experience with Avid. Please continue. I mean, the one cool thing about Avid that I think every NLE should have, and that I when Premiere is like, what would make you recommend us more? Right? I'm always like, batch auto sync audio and video. Because it cannot do that. You can do one clip at a time, or you can do a multicam sequence, and then it but then it creates hundreds of multicam sequences, and just merge the clip with the audio under batch. That's all Premiere, Adobe, but that's the one thing that that's the one thing that I loved about Avid, because you could just highlight, sync, and there it goes.
Well, I really liked Avid. No one else really liked it. That's partially because of the way things were set up there. Avid is designed to set up so that everyone is using Avid across a whole studio.
Okay.
It works very well on a server.
Okay.
So everyone can access the same project, and I had no problems with it going to Pro Tools, because it's both Avid programs.
Yeah. Which you would think would be the easiest thing, but
problem, because I never had a problem with it.
And also for mastering, I had to, and there was even sound people who didn't understand it, and I had to help so many third year students mastering 5.1.
Me too. But that's also because we didn't use the latest versions there. We used mixed versions. Pro Tools was on a version. Avid was on a version. I don't think it was really Avid's fault there. But one thing I have to say about Avid versus Premiere is Premiere you can edit and you can develop a lot of really bad editing habits. Because it's quite a chilled program. You can just throw stuff in and it'll just do whatever.
It'll stay there.
Everything will connect and it'll always be working and stuff, unless when it crashes, because it always crashes. But anyway, shots. Avid never crashes. Like Avid's like
But also Avid is on a
sturdy.
Mac.
Yeah, and also, but an Avid doesn't let you edit in a way where you develop bad editing habits. You have to edit the way you have to edit. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
have to use
And I mean,
the shortcuts. You have to.
I mean, we should mention that Avid, for anybody who doesn't know, Avid is the industry standard.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, I don't think in South Africa. I think in South Africa we mainly still use Premiere for everything.
Yeah.
But
Final Cut.
Final Cut 7.
Yeah.
But
dark times.
Yeah, dark times. But in like most of Hollywood would use Avid because it has that, like, it came from way back when it was like its own computer.
Yeah, because like if you know how to cut on film as well, there's many different steps that Avid Media Composer can do to make people who used to edit on film, it's very editing on Avid Media Composer very feels like the NLE version of cutting on film, basically. And there's a lot of like, it's like an intermediary. Like there's people who used to cut on the old Avid systems will still know how to use the new ones. And Premiere and all these other programs have derived themselves from Avid, the way in that NLE works, but then they've become more relaxed in terms of it being digital, which makes them easier to use than Avid. But I would say that if you're very serious about getting into editing, like you want to edit like feature films eventually, just like I would say obviously use Premiere to just like edit your projects and stuff, but if you really want to like jump into the deep end, jump into Avid, because you're not going to pick up any bad habits, because Avid will only allow you to cut the way you are supposed to cut.
All right.
Because there's pros and cons, but I mean definitely I just use Premiere. Yeah, I don't think I have many.
I mean, also the price difference is massive.
Yeah, it's massive. Massive. That's like one of the biggest reasons to use CCs, because like all the programs work together.
Yes. Yeah, and like what I was saying about visual effects, that's very easy, right? Like replace with After Effects, done.
Yeah.
Obviously with Pro Tools, like I think Media Composer and Pro Tools have a very similar dynamic link.
Yeah.
Because they're both Avid, and then obviously After Effects and Premiere are both Adobe programs. But like I find just going to all the programs, Premiere is like very, like it'll shake your hand easily, you know. Absolutely. Whereas Avid's like, you're not using Pro Tools. Well, good luck, man.
Properly, yeah. It's like, you're not ingesting your media properly. Well, you're not setting up your project properly. Well, there's no going back. You can't go into some thing to like. I think you can now, but
I think
you have to set up your project. You can't like go back and do what you do in Premiere and like change
things. Like a Premiere
you have to like
the thing that,
which is also good in my opinion, because you have to set things up properly.
You have
sometimes with Premiere, things are like a little bit too relaxed sometimes, and I feel things get lost. Can I give you an example?
Like, I used to work at a church, right? And we would train, like, people who were interested in editing, and I would be like training them on how to use Premiere and doing this and doing that. And the people who like started, like they knew nothing, and then I taught them. They knew like, okay, you create your my style was like you create your bins and you put everything in your bin and it's organized. Whereas the people who would have had experience but they didn't go to film school, or they just started when they were like in high school, their projects would be a mess.
There's
just like
worse than a messy
everything,
project,
just everything in the project panel. Nothing is in a bin. Nothing is sorted correctly. Nothing is color coded. It's all just in the project panel. And then what? The thing that somebody that I know still does this. Still, after I've like told him like this is the worst thing, he he reuses the same project, right? So he only has the one project file. And then he doesn't make bins. He just drags in new pieces of footage, makes a new sequence, and then starts editing in that same project, right? So in his project panel, you would scroll for like a year because there's just footage from who knows. And every time it's like media offline, he's just like offline all. So it's like there's even links to stuff that he doesn't even have hard drives for anymore. And then this is the worst. You're gonna be really upset.
I'm having a heart attack.
You're gonna be really upset. When he imports into his timeline, like he just drags obviously directly into the timeline, but then if he accidentally deletes that clip and he needs it again, he doesn't go look for it. He just drags it in again, and then it creates a second instance of the same clip.
What a nightmare! You have to be organized if you're gonna be an editor. You have to.
You
I'm
really
more
have
organized in my projects than I am in my real life, because you just have to. Because even on these shorts, even on other projects, where if you get like a little bit lazy, you're just gonna like. It just ruins you later on.
Yeah.
And then you end up having to do the organizing later on anyway. Even with some of these shorts, I've been getting like really in the zone. And then when you get like really in the zone, the organizing starts to become like a little lax. And then I have to like stop myself and like go back, organize some stuff. But then also, I think definitely be extremely organized from the get-go. But I also find that when you get into like the rhythm of editing and stuff, sometimes you get super in the zone, and then going back and organizing is also a way of like decompressing for like a little bit and then getting back into it. But I'll definitely say just like be organized from the get-go, because then when you get into like teams of people or into like a post-production house or something, you're going to, that project's not just going to be yours. Other people will be looking at it. You'll be sharing it amongst the other departments and stuff. And if your stuff is disorganized, you're gonna get fired if you don't organize your stuff properly. It's like having like your boss walking by and you've got like a messy ass desk and you can't see anything. Like no one's gonna want to work with that person.
And speaking of that, like I've been doing a bunch of like more corporate type stuff, and some of them want to keep the project files with them afterwards. I mean, I sell them back. I don't just give them away, because then they just take that project that you gave them for free and just take it to another person who then changes it or builds on it or adds another thing, and then you lose a bunch of money. But even if that happens, right, you have to have an organized thing, because the idea is that, let's say you, like, God forbid, get into a car crash. Now this deadline is not going to move because you were in a car crash. Now someone else has to take over your project. Now they can't find anything. They have to restart the thing. You miss the deadline and you'll never work again, because the guy's like, yeah, well, he's good, but as soon as he wasn't available, our whole project failed because... So it's like a responsibility thing as well,
like
especially
when you're doing something for yourself versus when you're doing something for other people. Like with the shorts, I've been like still very organized, but like organized in my own way, because I know that I'm the editor for all of it, and I'll be sending the sound to you to do the sound and everything, but everything's going to be like extremely organized at that point. But when you're working with other people, with like, and when you're reliable, you have to be accountable and reliable in any other way that you would be in any other field of work. Not just because it's editing. You have to be organized.
But also, while we're still on the organization thing, I thought I was organized until I got Stephanie's project back. I've
also worked from one of Stephanie's projects. It's insane.
It's crazy. And like I've actually adopted a lot of the things that she did. Like you think it's small things, but like having a specific order to your sequences, like 01 first cut or 01 sync, 02, and then that's the same for all the projects. So you can I'm sure you can open any other projects and just immediately know what's happening everywhere, which is amazing. I mean, I wasn't changing anything in the project. I was just adding markers for notes on a timeline, but I could easily go back into her select sequence because she labeled it so clearly in a sequences bin. Could easily go back there, and then she color coded every scene. So I knew that if I just wanted to look at the other takes, so I can be like maybe use the other take, I could just easily skip to that color section, and then she she has a little text thing that says the scene, right? And then she makes a cut in that text thing for when it's a new shot. So like all the takes in shot 1 are like under the same umbrella of that like texting, and then the same for all of it. So I could literally go through the things, and it's amazing. And like I've started doing a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't even do
with
that.
the films. I've started doing a lot of that with the 2 films that I edited, and it just makes everything so much easier because sometimes when you're doing your select is just when you like go through it and you select a part of the take that you want to keep, and then you like work with it, but it's not really working. So you have to go back and try another take, and then it's all right there. You don't have to look for it. You don't have to scrub through. It's there. So yeah, organization, Stephanie changed my life.
Yeah, I don't even do my selects that way. I just like color code them and
Really?
then like
bring
the take, that portion of the take over, and then go back and take
well, I mean,
another
it's the
portion of
same,
the take.
Let's just quickly talk about the other editing programs. So I have a MacBook as well, right? And I've had a MacBook since film school. So I have had Final Cut 7, because that's what we started on when I was second year. We didn't actually second year. This was 2014. No, this was 2015, and we were still using Final Cut 7 in film school. Ridiculous. And then the next year they started using Premiere for the second years. Obviously, like we said, third years Avid. There was that whole big thing that happened around when Final Cut 10 came out, which was in the time that I was editing for film school things, right? So it was like, yeah, I'm going to try it out, whatever. I think I got a trial, or somebody like lent it to me, or I got a copy of it, and hated it.
It's the worst.
Hated it. That being said, and this can flow into our next thing, which is when to get into editing. If you only have access to Final Cut when you're starting out and you don't really have a choice, go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Go for it. I mean, just know that there are much better programs.
Yeah.
And that the learning curve from Final Cut to something like Premiere or Avid is much steeper. And it's very difficult to start understanding how a Premiere timeline works. Or even because the Premiere timeline and the Avid timeline is very similar. So it's very difficult to, if you have your ground knowledge, your like base, if your foundations for editing comes from Final Cut, it's going to be not impossible, but it's going to be very difficult to adapt to the more professional programs. And like in South Africa, if you want to be an editor working, you need to know Premiere. But like getting back to it, if you're just starting and you have access to even iMovie or Windows Movie Maker.
I started on Windows Movie Maker when I was really young.
Yeah, I started.
Put on Windows Movie Maker.
Just like
it was the bomb.
I started on a thing called Cyberlink Power Director. Yeah,
I remember that program.
Yeah. So that was the first editing program that I used.
I suppose the editing thing extends to what we were talking about in our announcement video about the just like make your movie. It extends to like whatever you can edit it together, like shoot it on your phone, and then you can get NLEs on your phone and like edit it on your phone. And they've got like proper timelines and stuff, even like better than Final Cut 10.
Cut 10,
But yeah, obviously as you get more serious about it, you have to move to Premiere or Avid.
Like that learning curve between Avid and Premiere is not. I mean, it's still a little bit steep, but it's not as bad.
Yeah.
If you like Mark was saying, if you set up your projects in Premiere properly, then Avid is just going to be like a completely lateral move. You'll be able to do it easily. But like we said, just get whatever software you can and just start. You don't like the question that we had was actually, what age can you start editing?
Yeah.
But there is no age. Like if you're 10 years old and you understand how pictures fit together,
or you don't, and you just figure it out. Like.
Just go with it. You know, use any program. I mean, there will always be time to learn new programs. But
because the fundamentals of like, sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
The fundamentals of editing, like the theory of it that you learn, will stay the same. Like you can learn how to use a program and you can like learn the shortcuts and learn how to do it quickly, but the fundamentals of just like learning what happens when you put one shot next to another shot, it stays the same between every single program.
And like even the thing that we were saying about, you know, the Kuleshov effect and Georges Méliès, like you might not know about them or any of them, but like if you edit enough, you will start implementing those things, because like you watch shows on TV and you watch movies in the cinema and you see people doing these things, even if it's not a conscious thing. And when you edit, you apply these rules because people will tell you, oh, that feels off, or that was so cool, and then you're like, okay, so if I do this thing and that thing, it's cool. And then you don't know why it's cool. There's probably a reason for it, but when you find out, you're like,
and then you will be able to like start to verbalize it, and it's nice because you don't have to know like the technical word for every single little thing. You can apply your own words to those things. It's fine, but obviously there is a ton of like amazing theory and videos and stuff to watch. But I think it's also really good to learn how to verbalize editing, because when you're a director, obviously, and you're working with an external editor, you have to know the language. When you're an editor speaking to a sound person, you also have to know their language and they have to know yours, just so that everything... just because so everyone's speaking the same language, you know?
But just start on your phone and then go from there. Right? But then that also leads into the next thing, which is, what is the difference between editing a vlog and a film? Right? If I can start, I've done like quite a few vlogs on this channel, which, you know, go check out all of them. I mean, that's how the channel started, as a vlog.
Cannes twice, China once. Gonna loop all around the world.
For me, what I found the biggest differences is, in a vlog, I don't care about jump cuts, right? I used to care about them a lot, but you know, watching just videos on YouTube, which is where vlogs live. They just, you know, you cut because
it's a different language.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and things that I would never dream of doing in a film, such as the person is taking too long to talk, so I'm just gonna take out that silence. You know, I would rather try to find another angle and then cheat it, or whereas in a vlog, I just like boop, you know, cut it out,
and it doesn't
matter because
that's the intention.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because even, I suppose that's also, I think, where the two are almost like similar in a way, is because you're doing that because the intention of the vlog is for that information to be given or something.
Yeah, in a short space of time.
In a short space of time, that's the intention. Whereas in the film, you have different intentions.
Yeah, and in a film, you speak to the actor before you take the shot. You're like, this is what you're going for. Go, you know, you can go slow or you can speed it up. Whereas in a vlog, you don't know what you're gonna need. You don't know what music you're gonna use. You just cut it quick. And like
there is intention to both of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like what I was saying in the beginning. Is like
very
the first
different considerations.
It's the first category versus the third category, third category. Like a vlog as well takes me hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to edit, like a 10-minute vlog, if I have like a bunch of footage. Whereas a film, I would spend much more time on. And that's because I would spend more time organizing. I'm not saying I don't organize at all in a vlog. I still have my bins, but I don't have a select timeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's only that one take of that moment.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have a select. If I don't want the shot, I just delete it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like almost a vlog is like documentary.
Yeah.
In a way.
Almost.
I mean, in a documentary, you're not gonna jump cut and stuff. You'll have like B-roll. You'll have the ability to like go to another topic or something like that. But I suppose documentary is like an intermediary between the two.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I mean,
depends on the type of documentary as well.
True. But I mean, that's what a vlog is. It's a video diary, a video log. Yeah, it's just instead of you writing everything down, you're just filming it and you're just cutting it together, which is very similar to a documentary in the sense that you're filming things as they are.
Yeah.
And then you editing it together. But in a documentary, I feel like it's obviously more intentional about this is the story that we're following.
Mm-hmm.
In a vlog, the best vlogs always have a story, but that story isn't necessarily earth-shaking or moving, or sometimes it's just to have fun.
Yeah.
You know, which is not really something that you would do in a documentary. I don't know, necessarily.
Yeah, it depends, but yeah.
Yeah.
Generally.
So that's what I think editing for a vlog is the most different, is the amount of time that I spend on it. Okay. Because also a vlog is something that I want to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, until recently, I haven't really shot a lot of vlogs with camera. I've just used my phone. And usually it's like, okay, something's going to happen. Whip it out, start filming.
Yeah.
So I want to keep that same spontaneous energy in the edit.
Yeah.
Which again is like an intentional thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to spend 4 hours over engineering the sequence to fit meticulously perfect with the sound. I'm just like, oh, there's a beat, cut it. Oh, I filmed this 50, sweet, slow motion.
Yeah.
50 frames per second. And then, I have enough of them, make a cool little B-roll sequence.
Yeah.
I don't...
Film as pre-prod. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no pre-prod.
For
me.
Yeah.
I mean,
they can.
Okay, maybe not no. Maybe not zero.
There's a bunch of things you want to get.
Yeah, like, I know, like, maybe... Today I'm going to go to the Cannes Film Festival. I'm just going to film us standing in the queues. I'm going to film us going into the thing. I'm going to film where we're sitting. I'm going to remember to film myself talking about what I did.
Yeah.
Or when Kaylin or whoever's with me, I need to remember to ask them, hey, what's happening? But I don't tell them, hey, I'm going to ask you what's happening. I'm just like, yo, what's happening?
Yeah.
And that's just my style of vlogging. Obviously, I'm not Casey Neistat. I'm not Peter McKinnon. I'm just me. I'm just sharing my life.
Yeah.
So I think there shouldn't be as much pressure as there is now because of the McKinnons and the Neistats of the world. There's this pressure to make this like super produced vlog, which if you can do that, great. Just don't burn yourself out.
Vibe,
just don't burn yourself out because in the end, yes, it's like people can enjoy it and they can watch it, but like you're not going to change anyone's life really or maybe you do.
Maybe you do.
Maybe you have like a very cool topic that you are changing people's lives with your vlogs. But for me and my vlogs, I don't take them very seriously. And if you're like just starting out vlogs, I don't think you should take them very seriously. I think you should definitely watch those how to vlog like Casey or how to film cinematic B-roll sequence. I think you should because that's cinema knowledge as well. It's not necessarily just vlogging knowledge. You know what I mean? And also like it practices your editing skills, how to edit all this footage down too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I found in a vlog there's a lot of like cutting out.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Instead of a film, you're not necessarily just cutting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're creating like a pace, a rhythm. You can do that in the vlog, but I mean, vlog is a lot of like just removing stuff that you don't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I had this thought about what you consider like a good take and a bad take.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found with editing these shorts and editing stuff in the past is that a bad take in context might be an amazing take. You know what I mean?
I get you.
And vice versa. And like you find this is an amazing take. You put it in the sequence and it's like, this just does not work at all.
Yeah.
So I think in a film there's a lot of like construction for how you want the scene to play out, and a vlog more so lifting out the bad bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So before we close out, I'd like to maybe get some reading that you can look up. Of course, we mentioned the Walter Murch book, In the Blink of an Eye. Definitely check out that book. Just the most amazing information. Another person is Dr. Karen Pearlman. Her work is amazing. She really goes into like the science of editing, but it's not like too sciencey. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like a really sciencey person, but she explains it in such like an accessible way. She's such a great communicator of editing, which is such like a difficult thing to speak about sometimes. And she is featured in a few videos from this other YouTuber, this guy edits. Shout out Sven.
He's really good.
And her book, Cutting Rhythm, Shaping the Film Edit, is amazing. Just like I reference it all the time.
We'll have links. Yeah. We'll have links to some of the books.
Links below. And the last one is by Tarkovsky, the director, the Russian director. This book is like my favorite editing book ever. Tarkovsky has done like Solaris and Stalker and other great films. But he's got this book called Sculpting in Time. And it's just the best editing book I've ever read. The way it's like poetry. It's like reading a poetry book about editing. It's like mind blowing. So we'll have links to those down below. So we thought we'd leave you here with some films to watch with like some inspiring editing. For me personally, I like Blade Runner, definitely. It's a great one. Both, yeah. Both for very different reasons. They both have got like very different cutting and like both incredible. And I have to mention Jean-Marc Vallée. He's editing on in Wild and the TV series Big Little Lies and Sharp Objects. Season 1, yeah. Season 2 was like
let's not talk
re-edited.
About season 2.
It's a whole thing. But the way he edits is like amazing, because it's almost like there's that thing that they speak about how in novels you can go into like a character's thoughts, but in film you can only do that through like voiceover and stuff. Jean-Marc Vallée does that with editing. Yeah. In the most amazing way. I'll link down below. There's a video essay. Someone breaks down his editing and what he refers to as a thought cut, which I thought was like really interesting. And another, Denis Villeneuve, we mentioned Blade Runner 2049. French Canadians, man, killing it with the editing game.
But also watch Enemy and Prisoners.
Yeah, Enemy, Prisoners, Sicario.
Yeah. Just any other stuff.
Unreal. Like, to the nth degree, they're just like... And the way they like focus on the edit, like they pay so much attention to the edit in, as we were saying earlier, like in like pre-production. Like it feels very planned and organic. Yeah. Especially Jean-Marc Vallée, like he does so much meaning, but it feels like so organic and like it doesn't feel contrived at all, which is insane. Yeah.
And then from my side, I think one of the big inspirations for me is David Fincher, so especially like Gone Girl. Obviously, if you've seen Gone Girl, you know how they just twist things in the craziest way. But then I think I mentioned this in the directing podcast as well. But Fincher is so like precise, and again, like from beginning to end, he does multiple takes on like that like repeats action, and then he stitches them in post. So you have the best performances from both actors in the same scene in the same shot, which is crazy. But so yeah, that's definitely something to look at, like advanced editing. There's a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Adobe did a video with him as well, for Mindhunter. And then also, if we're talking about that third category that I was talking about, which is the one where you intentionally sort of break rules, Wes Anderson stuff, he loves to do that in the edit, and again, planned. One thing that comes to my mind especially is in Grand Budapest Hotel, where the cops start suspecting the concierge of killing the woman, and the guy just literally goes, "Oh, so you think I did it?" And then he turns away and runs, right? But it just stays on this sort of like almost wide cowboy shot for like the entire duration of him just running away.
Yeah.
And nobody else is moving.
Comedy, yeah, it's so good.
So yeah, he's comedic editing, but also I think, I mean,
the decision like not to cut as well is also the
exactly.
important one.
Exactly. So a lot of his work is something to look at. And yeah, I mean, just watch movies.
Absolutely, yeah, and try and like obviously be an audience member, but then maybe take a second watch and then pay attention to the editing. You know what I mean? And also, just the last thing is like the most amazing video essay. I'm sure you've already seen it if you like films, but just came to mind Tony Cho, Every Frame a Painting. How does an editor think and feel?
Oh yeah.
That was like, game changing for the way I like thought about it. Cool. So I think we can.
Yeah, let's wrap it there.
So we have merch, and we're thinking about making a store. So if enough of you want this merch, which is really dope, all of the designs, then let us know, and then we'll get that going.
Try to set something up for you guys. Right, so that's it for today. Sorry there was nobody else. It was just me and Mark. But I hope you guys learned something, or at least just enjoyed the conversation. If you didn't learn anything, tell us. You guys suck. But if you did, smash that like, do the subscribe, and and do the things that all the YouTubers always tell you to do. But yeah, until next time, go out and make your movie.